He who thinks this is slain, both of them are ignorant. This neither slays nor is slain. A few verses from Kathopanishad he quotes in Bhagavad Gita, especially in chapter 2, 3 and 4. One such verse here he says is that this is a direct quotation from the Kathopanishad. He who regards whoever it is, they think this as slayer, meaning the killer. And he who thinks this is slain, it can be killed. Both of them are ignorant. This neither slays nor is slain. It neither kills nor can get killed. What he is saying is, if you think you can kill someone, you are ignorant. If you think you can save someone, even then you are ignorant. That's all he is saying. Otherwise we'll think, what is it? This is slayer and he who thinks is slain. Normally, the individual believes that he is the cause. He can do what he can do. He can save someone, he can hurt someone, or he can protect someone. All that he is saying is, it can neither be, you can neither kill someone nor you can save someone. Meaning, you kill yourself or you save yourself. On what basis you say that? The basis is, you are the true self. From the true nature, from your original nature, you need to understand all these verses. You can't take it from the limited self. But we have not come here for the absolute self alone. We have come here for the limited self. From the standpoint of the Supreme Self, from the standpoint of the highest, the ultimate, this means Atman. The Atman means the Supreme Self. That is very easy to understand. See, the first level of interpretation is, God cannot be killed. God doesn't kill. God cannot get killed. It's very straightforward. There is no complication in this interpretation. And you don't expect a Kathopanishad or Krishnas to say something so. It's not something so straightforward. There is something that is deeply hidden. What is it that is deeply hidden? That's what we are trying to understand. In that sense, you need to approach the verse. Arjuna is concerned about killing. Arjuna didn't ask any question about God. Arjuna didn't ask any question about the Supreme Self. Neither is he concerned about what is the true nature of the individual. Neither is he concerned about that. All that he is concerned about is what? All that he is concerned about is winning the battle. All that he is concerned about is action that I do, that I like to do, consequences must not happen. I will do an action in the way that I like to do, and the consequences also must happen according to my likes and dislikes. Everyone does action according to their likes and dislikes. The consequences of it will never be according to your likes and dislikes. That's why you do an action, the consequences are always something different. Now what Arjuna is saying is, I will do this action of killing, but consequences, it looks very, doesn't look like a pleasant thing. So what he is asking, give me a technique by which I can act in the way that I like to act, but consequences I must not suffer from. For which he is saying, you are responsible for the consequences. Since you are the actor, since you are the doer alone is responsible for the consequences. Number one. Number two, there is no collective doing. No one does actions collectively. Even in a group, it is only an individual. Even in a group working together also there is no group. It's only an individual working, and that individual reap the benefit of his action. And as long as you have likes and dislikes, you have to keep acting. If you want to escape the consequences of action, what you should get rid of? Likes and dislikes you should get rid of. You can't have likes and dislikes, act according to your likes and dislikes, and do something and escape from the consequences. Now Arjuna is concerned about the consequences. What is the consequences? Winning. At any cost I should win, at no cost I should lose. The consequences. That is and if I win, I will be suffering. No, I will be unhappy. No, even if I win, I will be unhappy, isn't it? Or, how to be happy after winning? He is asking such a complicated, he is in such a confused state. Just as any human being is in this confusion. What is the confusion? The doer is responsible for the consequences individually. Number one. Lastly, the second thing is the instigating the action, instigating something in you that drives you to act is never from the outside. You might agree, you might not agree. You might accept, you might not accept, but the law remains the same. Actions are done wholly by your likes and dislikes. There is no external factor that is instigating your action. For example, any action for that matter you think, where you feel that you don't want to do it, but because of others you are forced to do. I don't want to do it, sir. It is because of others I am forced by others to do an action. All that he is saying is that condition is impossible. I don't like to go for movies at all, but every week I find myself sitting in every week I find myself sitting in front of some movie. Why? I don't like to go for movies by myself, but when my friends ask me, what can I do? So the responsibility of going to the movie is whose? Is whose? It's not yours. It is the friend's. For his sake only, I am going. Yeah. Each and every action that you do, that a human being does, it's thrown on the other. For his sake I am doing this, for her sake I am doing this, for this sake for your sake what are you doing? See, for my sake, I don't have to do anything at all, sir, because I don't want anything. Huh? Very, very interesting is this. These few verses, the quotes from the Kathopanishad is so interesting, so deep. Follow what I am saying? As long as you have desires, you will be in action. Action means including the consequences of action. You do an action not knowing what the consequences are, and when you are exposed to the consequences of it, you want to run away from facing the consequence. So he says, you need to stand there and face it. Stand there and face it. Don't run away. Don't escape. Don't run away, because you are the doer. What is the role of the other in it? What is the role of God in it? There is no role that anyone else plays in your action. If no one else can play any role in your action, automatically God is also excluded. Therefore he says, the responsibility of doing an action is on you, the doer. If you have to take the stance of non-doer, if you have to assume the role of non-doer, you need to get your original state. As long as you don't get your original state, whatsoever you do, you are the doer, and you will be responsible for the consequences. And what are the consequences of the doer doing an action? The consequences of doer doing an action is further likes and dislikes. That's the consequence. The doer doing an action is further likes and dislikes. You can never do an action as the little self, as the limited self, and escape the consequences. What is the consequence? At one layer, the consequences is papa or punya, agitation or happiness. At the deeper layer, which is the real concern of the enlightened masters, the real concern is not the papa and punya. The real concern is you go on increasing your likes and dislikes. We are not concerned about it, sir. Why are you concerned? We are only worried about the consequences of it, and let the consequence be favorable to me increasing the likes and dislikes. No, we are not concerned. We are not bothered. This neither slays nor is slain, meaning it's not about actual killing. It's not about actual killing. Killing is an action. So you need to understand it as, you need to understand all that he talks about as killing is an action. The doer is responsible for two things. The doer is responsible for two things when it concerns an action. One is the direction of the action, second is the quality of the action. The doer is responsible for two things, the direction and the quality. It is the non-doing principle, Atman, which doesn't have these two. Therefore, you reach that state, you aspire to reach that state, you escape the consequences of action. If not, you will be responsible for the consequences. What are the consequences of entering into the battlefield? What are the consequences of entering into a battlefield? Either you kill or get killed. Arjuna is concerned about killing or getting killed. This is how you understand it as the consequences of an action. Again I repeat, killing is an action. In the battlefield, what is the action? Either you get killed or kill. Which is the consequence of getting into this? And you got into this field, you got into the battlefield with a clear set of likes and dislikes. And as long as likes and dislikes are driving the action, you will be facing the consequence. Is there an action which cannot be driven by likes and dislikes? The grief of Arjuna, the shoka of Arjuna, the vishadha of Arjuna is because of him constantly anxious about the consequences of the action. That's why Arjuna's grief is. Or any human being's grief is only related to the consequences of the action. Consequences of action, understand it in a very broad sense, not in the consequences of an action. We always talk about consequences of action within the sphere of law of karma. We are not talking from that limited perspective. It's a very, the consequence of action is a very broad picture. What is a broad picture? Success, failure, more success, more failure. It should be pleasant. The results must happen in the way that you want. That which you are not prepared for, that which you didn't expect, must never happen. All these are consequences of an action. The grief arises when any one of this is not met. Always in life, most of this will not be met. Therefore, the doers of action is always in grief. Therefore, whatsoever you do doesn't matter. What remains is the grief. Always the doers of action ends up in grief. Arjuna, you want to get out of grief, you want to get rid of your grief, you need to take the position. You need to get back to your original state. In that state, when you reach that state, whatsoever you do, you are not responsible for the doing, neither are you responsible for the consequences of doing. Again I repeat, once you reach that original state, you are not responsible for what you are doing, neither are you responsible for the consequences, because it is the non-doer attitude that is driving the action. It is the non-doer. And who's the doer? Affected by likes and dislikes. Therefore, Arjuna, instead of worrying about the consequences of the action, get into action, get into battlefield, and if you are really concerned about the consequences of action, get back to your original self. That's the only way you can escape. That's the only way you can escape the consequence. All grief arises. The formula for grief. All grief arises, all shoka arises when something of yours is not met. The intensity of shoka is you do an action with the hope that you get it and you don't get it. The intensity is more. Are you able to follow? First is you don't do anything. If it doesn't come, you say, okay. Another thing is you do so much and still you don't get it. You don't get it. How much trying, nothing is working. The grief arises when the doership takes over. Grief arises when likes and dislikes determine your life. Grief takes over then. Impossible is to accept the responsibility of this grief upon one's own self. Impossible to accept the responsibility of grief upon one's own self. It is always easy to shift the blame to something else or someone else, because there is enough logic, there is enough proof you have to convince yourself and to convince the other that the shoka is because of. There is enough proof, there is enough logic, there is enough conviction to tell yourself and to convince the other also that the shoka is because of the other. The only way to get rid of the shoka, Arjuna, get back to your original self. As long as you are acting as the limited self, as a little self, you are bound by the likes and dislikes, you are bound by the doing, you are bound by the consequences of your doing. Two types of bondage. One is you are bound by the doing. Another type of bondage is you are bound by the consequences of doing. See, bound by the doing means you feel somehow it has to be done. If you don't do, there is something wrong. So somehow you force yourself into doing it, which is known as the bondage of doing. You are bound by the doing. Second kind of bondage is what? You are bound by the consequences. Elsewhere he says, thank God you don't have this penetrating capacity, you don't understand what is happening. Therefore you feel you are alright. Thank God you don't understand, he says. Because if you understand, you'll go mad, you'll go insane. So as long as you don't understand all this, you are safe. Yeah. And you should forget it. We keep saying that. Don't take all this seriously. If you take it seriously, you will go insane. Because how can you escape the bond of doing? How can you escape the bond of the consequences? See, invariably what people do is, those who think they are getting freedom, those who think they are moving away from, those who think that they are free, they simply stop doing, or they do an opposite thing. If everyone says, do this, that man will say, I will not do it. Saying I will do it is one kind of bond. Saying I will not do it. So when you say I will do it is because when you say I will do it, because you are liking it. When you say I will not do it, both are bondage. Two kinds of bondage as in relation to doing. Again I repeat. Romba bore achidana uttrunga, don't bother. There are two kinds of bondage when it comes to doing. One is doing it. Another kind of bondage is I will not do it. And those who think I will not do it, those who say I will not do it, they think they are above, they are free. They are not free, they are also bound in opposite way. If one man cannot avoid doing, Another man cannot do it. Are you able to follow? Both are bondage. Exactly the opposite of it is obligatory action. What is an obligatory action? What is obligatory action? Correct. That is almost there. You are rid of the first kind of bondage. Are you able to follow now? Action is of two types. Bondage is of two types. One is doing. With full, helplessly you have to do it. That is one kind of bondage. Another kind of bondage is, I will not do. Tragically, those who are doing at least is okay. Those who rebel, they think they have become free. That's the problem of the whole Western world. Just by rebelling, just by saying no, they thought they have become free. Now they realize that they are into a deeper mess. I will not do because I don't like it. You will not say I don't like it. You will say I don't believe in it. You will not say I don't like it. See, if you say I don't like it, the responsibility is yours. If you say I don't believe in it, you can just replace it with words and get away. You can replace it with words. And this ignorance is an expert in words. It will use the right word and escape. Try to escape. Eventually it cannot escape. It will sit in shoka. It will sit in grief, not knowing what went wrong. That's why invariably everyone comes and asks at some point of time, where did I go wrong? What went wrong? Nothing went wrong, or everything went wrong. So, the two kinds of bondage. One is the bond of doing. Second is the consequences of it. In the bond of doing, there are two types. One is doing, another is you cannot stop doing, neither can you get yourself into doing that. So how do you get rid of this bondage? He gives obligatory action as a solution to get rid of the first kind of bondage. What is the first kind of bondage? Action should not be driven by your likes and dislikes. If it ought to be done, it ought to be done. But I don't like it. But I don't believe in it. I am not convinced about it. Doesn't matter. Simply do it. Because by you talking all this, the mind is getting more and more stubborn. You are getting deeper and deeper into ignorance. So the first step is get into action. Two kinds of bondage it will produce. First kind of bondage is doing. Get rid of the bond of doing. How? Obligatory action. What is the way to get rid of the second kind of bondage? The consequences of it. How do you escape the consequences of it? How can you escape the consequences? Raise yourself to the next layer. Keep raising yourself to the next layer. That's why he says, keep the goal as high as possible. I still remember when he was doing this karma yoga, he said, keep the goal as high as possible, where it will take 3 janmas for you to reach there. It will take 3 janmas for you to keep it as high as possible. This is almost, how can you keep a high goal like that? Because action is seen as a tool to fulfill your likes and dislikes. Again I repeat, action is seen as a method, action is seen as a tool, action is seen as a solution to fulfill your likes and dislikes. Whatever I want, I will work and get it by myself, sir. Much better than stealing, comparatively only. But nevertheless, the bondage remains the same. Able to follow? How do you get rid of the second bond? The consequences of it. Keep raising yourself to the next level. Keep raising yourself to the next layer means, raising yourself to the next level means, whatsoever your level of unselfishness is, try and make an effort to become selfless. Wheresoever you are selfish, try and become unselfish. Wheresoever you are unselfish, try and become. That's how you are raising yourself from one layer to the next layer. That's how you escape from the bond of the consequences of action. If you are functioning thus, you attain the state of self-realization, God realization. In that state, you understand what? The role of God, the role of self. From that standpoint, you will understand. At that level, you will understand. What will you understand at that point? Atman, God, has nothing to do with anything. Meaning, you do everything and still say, I am not. You do everything and still say, I am not doing anything. The equipments are functioning. The eyes are seeing. I have nothing to do with the seeing. The ears are hearing. I have nothing to do with it. Ada in the class la follow pannadinga. The ears are hearing. I have nothing to do with this hearing now, except this class follow everywhere else that. Mind is going through these excitements. Sometimes joy, sometimes sorrow. I have nothing to do, because nature of the mind is to go through that. Nature of the intellect is to go through that. You are completely disconnected from that. Happens when you reach the state of enlightenment. And how do you get to that state of enlightenment? By doing. Not just by doing. Knowing how to avoid the two kinds of bondages it produces. Sometimes, if you don't do something, you feel so feverish, no? Till you do it, after you finish doing it only, that relief is not the satisfaction of having done what ought to be done. The relief is from what? The relief is from where? Temporarily you are rid of it. The freedom is temporarily you are rid of it. Habada. All cooking is done for this day, sir. Whole day I can be free. Tomorrow only I have to cook again. Habba. The relief is from what? It's the bond of doing. You are so forced to do, and you can't say what? You can't say no to it. See, when we say no to it means people say no and they develop another kind of bondage. What you cannot say? What you cannot say? I will do it with. I will do it with cheer. I will do it with pleasure. Don't try all that. It will not work. Whatsoever you do, you should do it joyfully. No, sir. Try it. It will not work. More joyful you want to become, more agitated you will become. You can't make an effort to be joyful. Do you know that? You can't make an effort to be, because the very effort itself is against Joy. How can you do that? That's where whatsoever we do, we should try to be cheerful, happy. Whatsoever you do, do it happily. How can you do it happily when you are bound by the doing? Are you able to follow what I am saying? So, one thing you can never say. What is it? Let the right understanding drive the action. Rather than likes and dislikes, let the proper understanding drive the action. Proper understanding means you need to make an effort to understand. Breathe in. Are you able to follow now? The doing itself is, you are bound by that doing. What is bound by that doing means? You are so restless till you finish it. And people think that is the right way of, that restlessness is arising out of bondage. That restlessness is arising out of bondage. That's why I keep saying, sincere, not serious. The restlessness is not there. Sincerity is there, restlessness is not there. So, here what is meant, what has happened here? You have developed the right understanding. What is the right understanding? Action is not meant to fulfill your likes and dislikes. Action is not a tool for fulfilling your likes and dislikes, desires. Action is a tool. The choice of action is a tool for enlightenment, for moksha, for liberation. That drives the action. There you are free from the two bondages. The bondage of doing, the bondage of the consequences. So wonderful, he says. He who regards this as slayer and he who regards this as slain, both of them are ignorant. Arjuna is so concerned about killing them, because in his deepest core he thinks he can save them. Those who are killing have a lesser ego. Those who think they can save have a more dangerous ego. Because you are playing the role of God, no. You are playing the role of divine, no. That's where between the ego of the killer and the ego of the saver, the man who thinks that he can save his ego is more strong, that much more strong, because both are equally ignorant. You can neither save, neither can you, meaning through your actions you can either slay yourself or save yourself, and you live unconnected with the other. You live life unconnected with the other, because life functions on this basis. Life functions on this basis. What is the basis? You are responsible for the consequences. He who regards this as slayer, he who thinks this is slain, both of them are ignorant. And between the two, whose ego is far more pronounced? The ego of the man who thinks that he is a savior. If I am not there, no sir, what will happen? If I am not there, what will happen? What will happen? Nothing will. Right time I went, sir. If I didn't go there at the right time, what would have happened? Maybe that fellow would have been much more happier. God only knows. But then the ego of, either way it only adds up to your ignorance. It only adds up to your ego. Therefore, he says, this neither slays nor is slain. Seriya? Verse number 20. Yeah, Goranvisha. Yes, Bharat. Yes. Yes. Consequences. Yes. 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 Correct. That is how I interpret it. I don't like to do it, I don't want to do it, but I am forced by the environment to do it, is the wrong interpretation of, is the wrong interpretation. The bondage from action is only two, doing and the consequences. What you are bringing in as a possibility is what I said already, where the person believes that he is not responsible for the doing because he is being helplessly driven into doing. Am I correct? Consequence, yes.
So consequence is there.
Yes.
So it's a result of an action.
Yes.
Like somebody else.
Yes.
And I have not been, I'm subject to the consequence also.
Yes.
So I'm not part of the action.
Correct.
Still there is a bondage, right?
Correct.
So I'm not saying I have to do it.
Yes.
I'm just saying that I'm just taking it.
Correct.
Just because there are people who are doing this thing.
Correct.
I'm also subject to that bondage. Because not the valid statement is mine.
Yes. What is the fallacy in this? There is a fallacy in this. It's not valid. There is a fallacy. There is a fallacy in this. See, now what he is saying is, what he is asking is, I am a part of the consequence of somebody else's action. Even though I have not done anything, I am experiencing the consequence of someone else's action. Is that not also a kind of, isn't it also a part of the bondage? Meaning, I am bound by the consequences of another person's action. Correct? That's what he's saying. For which I said, there is a fallacy in this. There is a wrong understanding in this. What is the wrong understanding? I decided not to act. You refrain from acting. He is saying you can refrain from acting. You can refrain from acting. Correct. Therefore, who is responsible? He is saying the third possibility. Your father did something, your father took a loan and you have to sit and repay it. The consequences of it. As simple as that. What he is saying is, my father took a loan and I am sitting and repaying. He produced 5 daughters and he died. I am sitting here getting them married. I am stuck with, he produced 5, all that he is saying is this. I am just giving an absurd way of, an exaggerated case. In fact, partly also. If my father gave birth to 5 daughters and he died, I am stuck with the responsibility, the consequences of his action. There is a fallacy. What is a fallacy? In understanding. What is a fallacy? You choose to get involved in it. You choose to get involved in it. No correct, no escape. I'll be correct, you, not you, you have no escape. You will be bound by the consequences of another's action only when you have an emotional bondage with that person. Where there is no emotional bondage, there is no, you will never be bound by the emotional bondage is what is known as attachment. So you are bound by what? Your own attachment. Even there you are not bound by, even here you are not bound by the consequences of his action. To that doer you have an emotional bond. And that emotional bond makes you to assume that responsibility, and you will go through it. You follow what I am saying? Therefore, it is not, you are not bound by the consequences of his action. You are bound to the doer. You are bound to the doer. Since you are bound to the doer, whatsoever happens, invariably you will be also, if you are bound to the doer, you will be bound by the consequences. So even here, responsibility is yours, because you have an emotional bond. That emotional bond, we call it as attachment. I have an attachment. I have an attachment to my father. Maybe attachment to the father, or maybe attachment to some silly value. I'm not saying right or wrong, good or bad. Some attachment makes me to go and bind myself to that. Are you able to follow? I am attached to my father. As long as I am attached to my father, I will be bound. If I am not attached to him, if I don't have an emotional bond with him, what will I do? What will I do? I will tell my sisters, you go your way, I go my way. There is no. So, the consequences are binding because of the bondage to that doer. Are you able to follow? I am not bound by the consequences of his doing. Since I am bound to the doer, whatsoever he left unfinished, whatsoever I think he would want to do, I would want to continue. I know one man, fourth sister he got married and he was crying. Fourth sister he got married and he was crying. I said, why are you crying now? Should be happy. Oh, my father is not here today to see it. If only he was here to see it, he would have given me one hug, and the whole lot started crying. Water? See, even Sri Ramachandra Murthy is not as obedient to Dasharatha as this son is. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm not ridiculing it. The entire action didn't arise out of an obligation. It rose out of an attachment to the doer, which language will cover it up as obligation, duty, commitment. It's the word that I have given to my father. I took a vow on the 10th day I took this vow, something. You follow what I am saying? So, he is bound by what? You are bound by your emotional bond to the doer. That attachment, he will start from verse 23. Now Now he is only talking about the bond of action, bond of your action. Another kind of bondage which is attachment, which is more emotions. You see verse 23, 24, 25 talking about that. Vasamsi jirnani yada vihaya. He is going to talk about all that, where your bondage is to another doer, and you assume that, and you unnecessarily go on bind yourself. After explaining both these two bondages, 28, 29, 30, he concludes by saying the only way is to get back to attain self-realization, God realization. That's why this verses 11 to 30 is a wonderful collection. You follow what I am saying? Did I answer you? The fallacy is, it's not that you are bound by the consequences. You are bound to the doer, which is far deeper, because the bondage is at the emotional level. The bondage is at the emotional level. If you are bound to someone, if that person is hurt, you feel hurt. If that person is insulted, you feel insulted. It's not that you are bound by that insult. You are bound to the other. You are bound to the other. One is your own bondage to action. Another is your bondage to the other. And the human being is completely caught up in both. He is bound to his own actions, and he is bound to the others too. Is it okay? Yes. Yeah, I'll come to you. Yes. The slayer and the slain is, he believes that he is the doer. When he believes that he is the doer, he is questioning. Go back to chapter 1. In chapter 1, what was Arjuna's concern? I will kill them. If I kill them, these are all will happen. But they are all bad people. Anyway, they have to be killed. But if I kill them, I will be responsible for all this. Therefore, I am not. Therefore, I don't know what to do. Follow what I am saying? So, he is concerned about the consequences. Now, the style of the Shastras, the style of the Upanishads is, they are so poetic. They don't say anything clear. They are the most, what is the opposite of straightforward? See, one thing is be straightforward and say it directly. Opposite of straightforward is? Implicitly. Opposite of being straightforward is? Roundabout. Round and round and round. Upanishads speaks that language. They are so poetic in nature, they leave you to interpret. You need to interpret it. What is interpret? Slayer and the slain is a direct reference to the grief of Arjuna. So from the grief of Arjuna, you derive. Instead of getting carried away by the situation, from that thing you try and arrive a general formula. This is reflection. You follow? It's a particular situation. Slayer, slain, killer, getting killed is a particular situation. Now Krishna, the philosophy is not addressed to this particular situation. So from this you need to know how to derive. You need to know how to derive the formula. From this we derive the formula depending upon your own understanding. depending upon how far you have penetrated. To whatever extent I have understood this verse, I am saying. What is it? Slayer and slain means that feverishness, that bondage of doing and the bondage of the consequences. It's an interpretation. It's a derivation. He might say it, maybe if Krishna were to sit here, he might get up and say, stop. You are blabbering, which I didn't say it at all. That is also there. You follow what I am saying? It depends upon how much you have penetrated. So, this is more of an interpretation, derivation from these two words. That's how I started by saying, you don't need a Krishna, you don't need an Upanishadic master to say something which is so evident. You don't need that. If they are saying it, we take the second possibility. What is the possibility? There is something so profound, there is something so deep into it, and we try to go as deep as possible. So when we go as deep as possible, you need to leave the situation, you need to leave the words and the verses and get into the concept. What is the concept? Action has, you are bound by the doing, you are bound by the consequences of the doing. And then I went on to whatever I was trying to explain. Correct. Yes, it's never outside. The ultimate point that he is trying to derive is the responsibility for this war, Arjuna, is you are into this war not because Kauravas drove you here, not because Kauravas were bad and God decided that you are the one who had to go and save the world. You are here because you are into this war because you are also responsible. Correct. Ultimately, the responsibility is every individual's. But then, don't conclude like that. Don't jump into that straight away. You will never understand it unless you go through it step by step by step. Anyway, Vedanta says we are responsible, sir. We know it. You will never understand. That's why in the process of manana, in the process of reflection, we try to break it up as much as possible and we try to go step by step by step. Which he is not doing. He is only making a statement. And for the Upanishadic master, making a statement itself is too much for them. Making a statement itself is too much for them. Is it okay? That is because you are moving into the third question. Then means you have gotten into the next step. Digest the answer at this. From this answer, don't go to the next answer. Then why the environment means we have moved on to the next question. It will be an endless question. And we'll be going in circles. But to answer the wrong interpretation, the wrong identification, bondage to the world. It's bondage with the other. It's bondage to the other. Seriya? Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. 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 As far as what is the best thing to do in the light of Vedanta? Vedanta says it is that individual's freedom to choose. It doesn't say you should repay the loan or you shouldn't repay. Vedanta doesn't say you should get the sisters married or you shouldn't get them married. Vedanta says you, the doer, the individual, is the best judge, and you need to decide all by yourself, taking the entire responsibility upon yourself. It doesn't give a solution by saying either you should repay or you shouldn't repay. It doesn't say both. It says you are the doer and you have to take responsibility. If you have a doubt, take. If you have a doubt, take guidance. Take help from another. Whoever you think is superior, you can take the help from another. Only if you are in doubt. It doesn't say you should or you shouldn't. Because to say you should, to say you shouldn't is not the language of Vedanta, it's not the language of philosophy, it's not the language of a true master. Because to say you should do this or to say you shouldn't do it is to rob you of your freedom. Is to rob you of your freedom. By taking away your freedom, you can't be made free. Are you able to follow? To say you should do it or to say you shouldn't do this is to rob you of your freedom. You go to a master for what? To become free. Now, he will not do anything that will make you bound to him or to what he says. If you understand, do it. If you don't understand, make an effort to understand. If you understand, do it. Whatsoever your understanding says. If you haven't understood, make all efforts to understand. That is the general stance that Vedanta takes with reference to any situation. Even in the same battlefield, Arjuna is asking that question only. In verse number 7-8, he said, tell me in one word what I should do. Should I fight or should I go away? 650 verses Arjuna gave, Krishna gave an answer, not telling him whether he should fight or he shouldn't fight, because the responsibility lies on you are the one who is going to do, therefore it is your prerogative, it's your freedom, it's your responsibility. You follow what I am saying? Therefore it doesn't say you should do, neither it says you shouldn't do. I brought this as an example. He was explaining it in a very technical way. I brought this example to make it easier to understand. And we were not discussing these issues. We weren't discussing this particular issue here. I just brought this as an example to make sure whether I have understood his question clearly or not. Is it okay? Yeah. Your understanding. No, you shouldn't make a choice based on your emotional attachment. That's another bondage. The basis with which you should make a choice is always backed by knowledge and understanding. It should be backed by knowledge. What is the knowledge? What is the knowledge? What knowledge? The knowledge of who you are essentially is. The knowledge of your true self. The knowledge of your true nature. That should back. All that we are striving here is to get to that point. That should be the driving factor. If this is not the driving factor, all our choices will be made on some moral principle, some ethical principle. And the morals and ethics are opinions of others. Again I repeat, the morals and ethics is nothing but the opinion of someone. In this country, there is this lawgiver. His name is Manu. He is an ancient lawgiver. Now, we are trying to, whatsoever he said, which that society thought was correct, now we are trying to disconnect from. Saying, no, what he said is his. And we make a new set of laws. Another 5,000 years later, another group will sit and try to do something else. This is based on the choices that is based on morals and ethics. It keeps changing, because ultimately it is that individual opinion or the collective opinion of a few, which is not knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding is something entirely different. That's where 700 verses of the Gita, invariably one verse takes 1 hour. Invariably it takes. One verse takes 1 hour. So 700 verses takes not 700 hours. It takes 700 weeks. Because we meet 1 hour once a week. 700 weeks. Adala naam half the time I escape. No, I also get tired of talking. So I also run away. So country all that 800 weeks. 800 weeks means how many years? I don't know how many years. 2 years plus, I don't know. 16 years. Whole of them, I feel old now. If I have to finish. You follow what I am saying? It takes that much time to understand. Because the knowledge which is based on the facts takes much more time to explain, much more time to understand in comparison to the morals and ethics. You follow what I am saying? So in that sense, it is completely different. In this particular situation, what should one do? We cannot directly answer that question, because it is dependent on so many other factors too. But then I brought this example only to understand this question. Is it okay? Yes, ma'am. Correct. Correct. The obligation or not is decided by your level of understanding at any point. At any point, there is a level of understanding which tells you that these are my obligations, these are my likes and dislikes. It might not be 100% right, it might not be completely wrong also. Therefore, what you can do, at your level only you can, at your level you should do. Whatsoever your conviction says, at your level you should do. The difficulty comes in, where the difficulty comes in is the result orientation, which will keep checking, where I will want to check at every point whether am I doing it correctly, am I doing it correctly, am I doing it correctly. It is more of the result orientation that causes the confusion, not the confusion of what one ought to do versus likes and dislikes. You follow what I am saying? At every level there is a clarity. There is something which I feel which I understand, these are my obligations and these are my likes and dislikes. At that level, I should make an effort to stand up and do which I consider as my obligation. The worry comes when is it right? Is it right? Whenever you ask this question, is this right? According to whom? At what level? Always understand this. Whenever you ask the question, is this right or is this wrong? What is hidden inside is to whom, at what level that individual is. Follow what I am saying? Therefore, there is no per se that is right, there is no per se that's wrong. That's why this Upanishadic knowledge, this Vedantic knowledge is always taught on a one-on-one basis. Because there can never be a universal pattern. Follow what I am saying? Therefore, at a level, at your level you understand, this is my obligation and this is what I should do. From a higher level, is it right or wrong? Whatsoever you do, anyone higher will always say it's wrong only. Are you able to follow? Anything from a higher level, the lower always looks, lower will appear wrong. But to you, not you as a person, to that person, at that level it's not wrong, because it is this correct doing at this layer will take you to the next layer. From the 10th standard level of understanding, the 5th standard level of understanding is always very, very elementary, with so much of flaws in it. But that doesn't make the child at 5th class wrong. Why? Because it is that understanding at that level will take the child to the next level. You follow what I am saying? Therefore, always there is a confusion. On what basis do I decide that this is my obligation? For which I say, 80-85% you know. 80-85% at your level you will know what is your obligation in comparison to your likes and dislikes, your desires. Whatsoever you are convinced that is your obligation, you should go into it right till the end. You should go into it right till the end. Hmm?
Not seriously.
Not?
Seriously.
Correct. Sincerely. Correct. Sincere. Never be serious. Sincere. Whatsoever it is, this is my personal thing. Sincere, not serious. Whatsoever you do, you ought not to be serious. But you have to be sincere, because it is the sincerity that brings power to the doing. The energy, the virium, the power, the capacity to the doing comes from the sincerity. Sincerity means the doing. But then, as we start doing, the mind splits. The mind starts dividing. One part of the mind will go to the result, the fruit. Another part of the mind will be worried about, am I doing it correctly? Because if I do it correctly only, I'll get the fruit.